Hello, everyone, and welcome to Developer Diary number 1 for Aegis Force: The Scorian War. We are so glad to be able to share this with you today. My name is Nick Scholes. I'm the narrative director over here at Deseret Game Studio, and I'm so happy to be able to talk you through some of the pieces of Aegis Force: The Scorian War. Before we jump into the game and walk through some of the ideas that behind it, some of the areas where the story developed, how the idea came about, and the gameplay systems, and even just some insights into how making a game goes, and kind of some of the pitfalls and learnings that we've had. I want to introduce you to two of the other people who are here today with us, who are going to be able to give a lot of those insights. So first, I'm going to hand you off to Christian Smith to introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Christian. I am the founder of Deseret Game Studio and executive producer for Aegis Force. We are very excited to talk about this game that's been in the works for a long time, and we're very excited that you've shown interest as well. And I'll pass it over to Candice, our community manager, to introduce herself.
Hello, I'm Candice. I am the community manager, so you'll see me around in the community Discord, all of our social media channels, and really pretty much anywhere that the game is being talked about.
Excellent. Thank you both for making the time today. I think this is going to be really insightful and really interesting for people to be able to just get to know how this whole process works. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and switch over to the game. I'm the guy with the controller in his hands. We're just going to kind of talk through the whole thing and just talk as we go, give insights, and then have a few questions at the end that we've gotten from some of our different social media channels that Candice is going to help us out with. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the game.
And we should probably let people know, Nick, that our Aegis Force Scoring Award demo is available on Steam right now. So if you're interested, you can go check it out, download it, make sure you wishlist us, follow on social media, and to get all the updates on it.
Absolutely.
And to give us feedback.
Yeah, and I mean, you can go out there, you can download it, as you can see here on the main screen. Like, you can wishlist it, follow us in various social media channels where you'll get to hear from us and Candice. So we would love if you love what you see and you love what you play, go out there and wishlist it so that we can continue to build up that steam and get this game into your hands. All right, let's get going.
So some of you who may be fans of Shining Force may recognize this type of framing intro. Aegis Force is very much inspired, amongst other games, by the Shining Force series, particularly Shining Force 1 through 3. Shining Force 2 is one of my all-time favorite games, and one of the things I love that they did is whenever you opened up and started a new game, or started a game, you'd get an introduction to a character, and that character would change each game that you played, who kind of recognized you as the player, almost a fourth wall breaking moment. And they kind of frame the story a little bit with the dialogue as you get into the main menu where you can start a new game or continue and so forth. So we love that idea and just that concept in general. So we wanted to kind of emulate that a little bit with this mysterious fox-like character referred to as a Kinsonite race, which you'll learn more about in the game as we develop further and announce more about it.
Absolutely. And I should say, I have known Christian for a while. We both absolutely love, kind of golden age SNES, PlayStation era RPGs, and have played so many of them. I have not played as much of Shining Force as Christian has, and so getting into developing this game, understanding some of the things that made Shining Force special was actually kind of a treat for me to be able to jump in and actually play some of the old Shining Force games and think about the ways that we would want to take narrative cues from them. So it was really fun to jump into this kind of intro sequence here.
And you'll see a lot of influences from other tactical RPGs as well, including the Fire Emblem series, Final Fantasy Tactics, and so forth. So it's a lot of inspiration, a lot of great resources that were lovingly applied to the development of this game.
Definitely. I think that's worth double calling out, right? There's a lot of influence here from these different games that we love so much. One of the things that we sort of saw develop over the time that we've already been working on the game is that it's definitely a tactical RPG. It definitely has, those strong tactical and strategy components to it, but that we've also started to kind of pull in influences from all kinds of those games that we really love. So it's it's not just a Shining Force. It's, a whole lot of things with JRPG elements, mixed in as well. So it's pretty exciting.
I'm feeling some heavy thematic story driven games like Final Fantasy VI and Chrono Trigger and so forth.
Yes, exactly. Chrono Trigger, one of my favorite games of all time, and I think that Christian agrees. It's one of the greats. I should call out as the narrative person, we've seen people going out and doing let's plays and all kinds of things like that. For anyone who does want to know, the two cities mentioned here, it's Vigorod and Arthart. Vigorod and Arthart. That's a pronunciation for them. So in case you were wondering, that's it.
That's very helpful, Nick. I know there's been some questions about pronunciation.
I think listening to streamers actually speculate on what it is has been half the fun. Is they're like, what? Genofigure? So I sadly will have to put that to rest and actually tell what the pronunciation is now. What's interesting too is that even this opening sequence went through probably 10 versions, sometimes bigger changes, sometimes smaller changes. It was originally much, much smaller and tighter in terms of the way we wrote it, but it was actually, I think, too anemic. It was to a point where it was teasing everything and giving absolutely nothing, and to the point where it was like just a little bit frustrating maybe. So we actually went back and did a revision and built it out just a little bit more. So definitely a lot of tease, a lot of mystery, but maybe not bad, not confusion.
And this mysterious Kitsune character is actually, it's a little bit of kind of a preview of story elements that'll come later on. We'll come across this character and learn more about why she's so mysterious, what she's concerned about, why she's familiar with Callan and so forth as the story develops. So you get a little bit of a preview here as you start the game off and meet her for the first time.
Absolutely.
A little tease of what's to come. Some people may wonder too, why not, especially with some of these golden era age RPGs where you were allowed to pick the name of your character or change the name that they gave you, why did we not give players that choice? Well, the primary reason is for narrative. We have some very specific emotional and narrative moments that are going to happen that wouldn't be as powerful or work as well if the character's name could change and maybe their identity a little bit as well.
Absolutely. And I actually did have... Actually, the very first time that I think I walked through it with Candace, she had mentioned, she's like, wait, do I get to name my own character? Do I get to have... And which I completely understand. I love games like that. But yeah, in this case, we made a very specific choice to try and make something that was handcrafted from beginning to end. So yeah, that's a good way to put it. Are you still frustrated about it, Candace?
I've made my peace with it.
Okay.
It's all good.
Here we're getting a text call that gives you a bit of background about the Skorian War and sets a little bit of the story and history behind the continent of Ionoa. Nick, where did the Skorian War come from?
Okay, so the Skorian War, as I was trying to build out the idea for this world, this place with two countries at constant war with each other, right? Genoa and Turamain. With one of them being so powerful magically and the other one being powerful in terms of their technology, I figured that the first clash was going to inevitably be incredibly violent. And so Scoria is actually a type of stone. It's like almost like a lava stone, a magma stone, something that happens when there's really high temperature, really violent eruption. And it seems like it just fits so well that we have a scar down the middle of this big continent that splits these two groups of people, and that the soldiers themselves, long ago, 100 years ago, that this war's been going on, are the ones who actually coined the phrase the Skorian War when they saw that great, what they call the scar that runs down the middle of the country. All right, and we're introduced to our first two characters, right? We do have a lot of characters coming throughout the game, but we were introduced to our first two here, of Callan Roth there on the right with his sword, and his best friend Orvis Magnarik, who is what they call an attuned. It's someone who has magic, Some people are born without it in the Kingdom of Genoa, but those who have magic kind of come in a few different classes, a few different areas. An attuned is pretty powerful. It's not the most powerful. Those are very rare. A very small percentage of the population are going to be attuned. But both Callan and Orvis are attuned. Their magic manifests in different ways. Orvis is much more of a traditional mage class, whereas Callan is, very much our fighter, our knight, to some degree our tank, especially during this early demo portion. But his magic comes in the form of being what's called a tactomagi. It's what gives us the game mechanic that we have, where you're actually able to control combat, almost in a tactical battlefield turn-based way. It's our way of showing you what it looks like when he is on the battlefield, and what he calls nudging, giving these instructions to the other people on the battlefield that they can follow and that they can all work together as one unit more effectively. Now we're joining them on the very first mission that they've ever had out of training. This is the first night. They're hiding in the cornfield. The rest of the Genoan army has moved into the city. It's a little tiny town called Lendine that's just over the border into Turamain. And you can see Orvis is a little bit nervous, fidgety, back and forth. Callan is, Orvis, trying to get his attention. Orvis, can you stop fidgeting? It's distracting. Right, but of course Orvis he's a little bit antsy, right? First assignment out of training. I thought we were going to be fighting soldiers from Turamain. So these longtime friends from when they were just little kids, they've joined up with the military and they are part of this 100-year war now.
I want to give a little bit of a note on the art style here. You can see we went with a kind of a 2.5D pixel art style. When we were starting off, pre-production for the game and kind of deciding different aspects of it, including what kind of art style we wanted to use, there was no question we wanted to do pixel art. Again, just kind of tying into those, pixel art, 16-bit, 32-bit era JRPGs I love so much, and that we're seeing really a renaissance of lately with a lot of indie games being produced with pixel art. But also you can see it has a very similar art style to the HD 2D art style, coined and made famous by Square Enix with Octopath Traveler games and Live Alive and so forth, or Live Alive, sorry. And so we love that style. It's got a little bit of a uniqueness to it, and then it's a little more 3D in terms of the way we use the camera and the way it's set up. So it's even a little bit more kind of diorama-like, and the final art style and plus camera work and all the nuance of it came from a decision actually made by our art director, Ethan Bristow. And so he showed us some examples of some stuff out there that was kind of newer and unique and less of a newer, unique take on this style that hadn't been done quite as much. And you'll see more about this as we go along, as we develop more kind of what we're doing with it. But so it's both a callback to that 16-bit more flat era, and we made it a little bit more modern with kind of the 3D diorama approach and the way we use the camera and make it really cinematic. And what's important to us is to have a lot of really cool cinematic effects, not only for storytelling in cutscenes like this, but also in battle mode and so forth. We got some really cool ideas about spells and so forth, the dramatic effects we can add, camera panning and so forth to emphasize just the grandeur and the verticality of some of the stuff that we're doing, both spells, architecture, and so forth. So we're really excited to show you more, and we've got a very talented artist, Bob, who's heading this work.
Absolutely. And actually, that's been one of the things, I've seen people call out specifically, that they just love the visual style, they love the diorama feel to it. That HD 2D thing, I think, really resonates with especially those who loved those old games, but they want to see how we can modernize them and what we can do to breathe a little more life into them even. Now you can see our first Turamain soldiers showing up here. They saw smoke, so they came from the guard station just like Callan and Orvis thought that they would, right? But they're having a little argument amongst themselves. Okay, yes, you were right. Was that so hard? And he's like, yeah, living long enough for you to be right about something? It was. Right, you're a jerk. Not everybody gets along in all the military, but like Kellen said, see, who says you can't see some action sitting in a cornfield? Got the guy on the left, ready, and then for Genoa, out to battle, and we get our first taste of our battle system.
Yeah, so we can see what we got going here is it is a tile grid-based system, turn-based tactics. Again, very familiar with fans of Fire Emblem, Shining Force, Final Fantasy Tactics, and so forth. We didn't go with an isometric viewpoint, which is common with a lot of tactics games, made popular, I think, with Final Fantasy Tactics, at least made popular to me. But we got the 3D rotating camera. We prefer more of kind of a heads-on view as the default. For different reasons. And one of the things we wanted to do with Aegis Force that is pretty rare, and really for a better part of a decade, I kept thinking to myself, why doesn't everybody take kind of the open exploration and movement style with overworld and town and special interest location exploration you saw from RPGs, Final Fantasy VI and Dragon Quest and all these classic RPGs that kind of let you move around, and then had a separate battle mode you want to go into. A lot of tactics games fall into more of that kind of a cutscene dialogue, battle, cutscene dialogue, cutscene battle, cadence where they kind of tell their story through those cutscenes and you jump into a battle and so forth. And maybe we see a little bit, including with more recent Fire Emblem games, where they give you a little bit of exploration and so forth, but not a whole lot of games try to merge the two, where they say, let's just give you 4 exploration in the overworld, and you can move your party around towns and so forth. Again, a lot of these classic JRPGs. But then instead of a turn-based with kind of your party on the right, enemies on the left, battle system where people are kind of stagnant, you're just kind of pushing buttons in the menu, why not implement a full tactical battle system where now you've got some freedom of movement across this grid, and we can factor in positioning, and we can factor in eventually we've got some plans for the terrain coming to effect and so forth, and teaming up with proximity to your party members. And so to me, that's kind of the perfect merging, is let's let them explore around. You can see your party as you move around. You can go up to NPCs and talk to them. You can go to the overworld and go to different towns and so forth. But when you go into battle mode, it actually opens up into a tactical battle mode right where you're at. Very similar to like Baldur's Gate 3, a very popular game that does it, to a different extent. A little bit of a different take. They're not grid-based like we are. But to me, that's the perfect. That's my idea of a perfect, RPG is give me this classic exploration and sense of discovery and meeting characters and getting immersed in the world and moving around my party, but also give me a battle mode that's more intense, that's asks more of me, instead of just some JRPGs you can get overpowered enough that you go to the overworld, so to speak, and you want to go from one part to the other, and you get to a battle, it just becomes a hindrance because it's so overpowered. You're getting so little experience, you don't really need to grind. And so I remember as a teenager playing Final Fantasy VI, that Final Fantasy 3 here in the US and the Super Nintendo, and I'd get to a battle, I'd get irritated, like and I'd turn and just look at my Nintendo Power Guide about what to do next, or I'd grab a handful of chips and I just keep pushing the same A button over and over until I heard the battle music let me know I had won, and then I'd pay attention to the screen again. And we wanted to eliminate that. We want to give you a chance to explore without random battles popping up, so you don't have to get into a cave and say, okay, I see a chest over there in the corner. Is it worth 2 or 3 battles there and 2 or 3 battles back to go check and see what's in that chest? Now you can just go explore, because we're not going to have random battles pop in there like that. All the battles will be put into the story, and they'll give you a chance to go and engage enemies you see on the battlefield, kind of like you see in Dragon Quest 11, if you choose to get into a battle to grind or level up or whatever it may be. And so the freedom to explore is there, but the battles themselves will be meaningful, and I think we'll have a little bit more of an impact and be enjoyable that way. So that's kind of what I envision for this game. And again, I just for a long time been thinking, why doesn't anybody make a game quite like this? And nobody really has, at least not to my knowledge. And so we worked on this and hope it comes mainstream and people enjoy it and kind of see the vision and enjoyment we have for it.
Absolutely. I remember one of my favorite games of all time to this day is Earthbound, JRPG, of course, but that it had an auto battle button, I think speaks exactly to the problem that you talked about there, where you just end up in some of these fights and it's just endless, and you're trying to just get where you're going and you're getting so little experience that they actually even put in an option to auto battle. I think speaks to it. That's one problem we want to avoid here.
Yeah, and it's just kind of a different flavor of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So you saw what Nick there just passed by. There's a farmer with his house on fire, had his farm animals out there. So there's Callan and Orvis are starting to realize, getting their first taste of battle here, that it may not be as uh, I don't know, epic or honorable in as many ways as they had hoped. Seeing a local villager, his house on fire, he's suffering from the effects of this invasion. You can start to see as this epilogue, this demo epilogue goes on, and as the story goes on, that's going to be one of the themes here. Is there are many different kinds of victims or ways that people are affected, from war and from conflict and so forth, and it can have an effect. And unfortunately, war can dehumanize people, and uh, how can we avoid that sort of thing and look at the humanity of what's going on and so forth. And now he's left that area and he's got caught up into a battle where a Genoan Lancer, one of their former army mates here, is outnumbered by a Termain gunner
Mm-hmm.
and or a couple of Termain soldiers.
Exactly. And to that point, right, to your point about the one of the themes of the game being about how war is not so easy to just draw a line right down the middle. One of the goals that we had when writing is to just even to give moments of humanity to some of the enemies, to the other people on the other side. You saw a little bit ago I went and spoke to an innkeeper right at the front gate that I went into, and I think we get a good little view into the kind of person that Callan is. This is a Turamain innkeeper. This is someone who lives in the country that they're actively attacking right now. But instead of just attacking the inn and lighting it on fire, he encourages the innkeeper to keep their guests inside. Everything will blow over by morning. It should be fine. We're here on a military operation, but there's no reason for you guys to get involved because they're young, they're inexperienced, but both Callan and Orvis have a morality about them and about what war really should be, and they realize that in some cases that's a real strength for them, and in some cases it's not going to reflect reality. So that's one of the goals that we have, is to try and show all sides of these things and help us get a taste of what it feels like for everybody involved. For those who, obviously you're seeing here, we have different mechanics that are going to be added throughout the game. One of them, though, is backstabs. We wanted to have a directional system because it's when you have the tactics, when you have the ability to move people around the field, that should matter. It should matter what direction you're attacking from. It should matter, what area you're attacking from, or whether there's cover between you. Exactly, right? Vulnerability for everyone. That's a whole part of it. So we wanted to have backstabs, side stabs. The enemies can do that to you as well, but it gives you one more element to think about as far as the tactics that you choose to employ on the battlefield.
Yep, and so weak points, vulnerable areas are all going to be part of the tactics, tactical battle mode, and Aegis Force. And so we're just introducing one element at a time here as you go along, and we've got just a plethora of ideas that we're working to implement post-demo time period as well. So a lot to look forward to if you like tactical complexity and so forth.
Absolutely. You may have noticed, too, that we had a Turamain gunner, right? As I said before, magic is really a genuine thing in this world. So Turamain, they have come to rely on technology primarily as the way that they both live their lives and they engage in war. And so you'll see that whenever you're fighting Turamain side, technology is going to play a much bigger part. There's gunners on their side, there's archers on the genuine side, but you'll see that kind of play out as we continue to develop the world and the characters, and you continue down the pathway of the story, that just becomes a big separation between the two. So we just got Callan shot right there.
Waiting to see if Nick's skilled enough to save that Termain or that Genoan Lancer. And the answer is no.
He is not. Oh, that's a shame.
Sometimes you're able to, sometimes you're not. If he's smart enough to run towards that crate on the southern side of the screen there, you can usually save him, but otherwise, poor guy.
Didn't quite make it.
He was outnumbered from the get-go.
Let's see here. Let's get this gunner off the battlefield.
And there's going to be a lot of, this is still obviously work in progress. We got the epilogue portion is what is what the demo's made of. But as we continue to rework things and polish things out as game development continues, and as we add more content, some of it we're going to backfill back to the demo area. So if you see things in the demo now, obviously bugs that may come up, but even little things like sound effects or possibly even animations or whatever. Callan floating there for a few seconds over the ground. Those things are all will be, you'll see some changes over time as we continue to develop, even to the demo itself. And so if you want to try the demo out, a few months down the road, you could very well see some of these changes and updates as well. Like I said, we're not going to ignore the demo portion. We continue to keep up with development.
That is one of the nice things about developing game systems, right? That they can be retroactive. And everything that we've got here, we've worked really hard at, we're really proud of. But yeah, those further systems, as we continue to develop them, they're going to be retroactive to be able to make even this prologue more clean and easy to play for you guys. So
a couple of notes here. You can see those big kind of copper colored Steam stacks out in the distance there. That is one of the hallmarks of Turamane, as Nick mentioned, is they are very technologically advanced, and so this village is being powered by those cylinders off in the distance, and the process they got going there. We're just passing by the town square right now. There was a barricade keeping soldiers from coming into that side. Nick will turn around and go check out. There's one more village member. I guess you can do it a little bit later, but I'll let Nick guide the kind of story progression here.
I do have to say, as the writer, I am not exaggerating. You would not believe how exciting it is to see something that you've written actually turn into something. So I've got a big thanks to Deseret Game Studios, just because seeing the actual stuff, the words you put down on the page turn into images and gameplay and everything is one of the most satisfying things I've ever had. So this is Commander Enridge, by the way, who is the commander of the Genuine side. Go ahead, Christian.
Yeah, and you can see here, I'm just going to point out, so beginning of the game, we saw counting over some humans. We saw some human soldiers and some human farmers and so forth. The world of Aegis Force is very rich in terms of varying different kinds of what's the word I'm looking for? Just
variety.
A variety of different types of people that dwell there, different races and so forth. So Enrich, you probably saw half body, half man, half horse, is a centaur. Centaur is kind of an underrepresented race in a lot of role-playing games, and so we want to make sure we had some in there. Again, that's a little bit of a callback to the Shining Force games that I love a lot, and I know a lot of fans about there. There was some very prominent centaur characters that you could have in your party and so forth. So you'll see that. You'll see Vedette, one of the main characters, not introduced in the demo, but introduced soon after, is actually a female elf. She's an archer, and a whole bunch of variety of different classes or races of dwellers here and on the continent of Ionowa, which makes a really kind of a rich fantasy experience, as well as you see different types of races with different kinds of backgrounds, different kinds of architecture, even potentially fighting styles and so forth. And so it's going to make a lot of fun as you move along. Your party, known as the Aegis Force, is going to collect all these individuals and have a cool chance to get a variety of different types of classes and races and so forth to keep things interesting. And it's going to make for really rich, kind of a lore experience, depth to the game and in the world as well.
Absolutely. And we're constantly, as we've been developing out the story, we've seen all kinds of cool opportunities to add different kinds of characters who have their own kinds of stories and their own struggles, characters from both the Genuine and the Turamane side, so that we can play on their strengths, make them as real as possible, hopefully make them into characters that you love and that you want to be able to learn more about. That's our biggest goal, is to make sure that these are the kind of characters that resonate with you. And they're all going to be a little bit different, right? Some are going to be these highly likable, lovable people. Some are going to, we've got our scoundrels, we've got our thieves, and, there are all kinds of different races and creatures that you're going to be able to both play as and to fight against. We've got enemies of all kinds of types too. Right now, you're getting a very military-heavy one during the prologue, but you'll see that we've got a big variety there as well. Ooh, I think we got a good backstab on that guy because we just took him down.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we mentioned, but you do get some extra damage output with these kind of back or even side attacks.
Mm-hmm.
I think Triangle Strategy is a game that used a similar system.
You can see we got joined by our good buddy here, Private First Class Biggs. Those who are old Square fans from the past will recognize Biggs as a name there. I just couldn't let the opportunity pass for us to not use one of my favorite little side character names from old Square games.
Yeah, kind of a little Easter egg there.
Mm-hmm. See, yeah, Callan's talking about the Tactimagus abilities, right? To be able to nudge. He hopes it will not too uncomfortable. And, I think that this really sums it up, that Biggs realizes that this is a strong tactical advantage, right? He says, it doesn't feel like I'm being controlled, just feel like I'm fighting alongside someone that you know really well. We just have our own ideas, but it's always the version of the idea that works best for the group. And Orvis can't, pass up a chance to rib Callan, his best buddy, right? Oh yeah, it's can't make you do something you don't want to do, but it makes sure we're all lined up. It's a powerful advantage, if it would be for someone smarter than this dummy. Right, and then Callan's obviously got to poke back. I'm smarter than you, at least. That keeps me warm at night. But whether you're Tactimagus or not, they've had a long night. They've had their first battles of their entire lives, their entire military careers, and they're starting to feel it a little bit. Thanks for the assist, of course. But then we got something big coming. There's no rest for the wicked.
Yep, so first introduction to a True Remain War Beast. So kind of a couple other things I mentioned, the variety of races here in this world. You've also got a variety of enemy types, right? I mean, it's not just going to be humans going to be fighting. There's going to be all kinds of different enemies, and one of them being this True Remain War Beast that shows up. You also see some different kinds of mini boss battles, mini boss, and kind of larger boss battles throughout the game as well. Something a little bit unique, I think, with tactical role-playing games. But something we thought would be a lot of fun, and we got some great ideas about kind of implementing this concept of having not just these battles against, a larger a group of enemies over a field area like this, but also some bosses as well with some unique gameplay tweaks and strategies that you need to figure out and employ to be able to defeat them.
That's right. Now we got a decent little layout of enemy and friendly soldiers, and as you can see, when we have friendly soldiers, even ones that aren't our main characters on the field, we're giving you a chance to be able to control them so that you can line them up tactically as well. This is all about that Tactimagus ability, which is what you've got. You're the player, you're the one who is lining up all of these attacks and making sure you got the people in the right places. So that's the kind of power feeling that we want you to have as you're working through it.
You can also see that farm with the pitchwork. He's so overwhelmed with what's going on. He's just running back and forth like crazy.
He's jazzed. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not a dance party going on Town Square.
Oh, did I get too close? Oh, good. I thought that I'd given myself enough distance that the War Beast wasn't going to be on me, but as you can imagine, a creature that size does not hit soft, so you want to make sure that you're playing that as smart as you can. Oof. Callan's taking a little bit of a beating here. We gotta get some other people in close.
And again, we want to, we love this concept of tactical battles feeling like, solving a puzzle, both in, kind of the different ways you can go about doing it to get the final result and make you have that satisfaction of having kind of figured things out and completed it. If Nick were better at tactical role-playing games, he probably would have moved his party around the fountain to draw some enemies away from the War Beast, but we'll give him a break this time.
I did toss one of my soldiers to their death so that I could keep Callan and Orvis alive. That's a type of tactic.
Yeah, sacrificing to the opposite.
Okay, let's see. Do I want to get into a slugfest yet? That's the real question that we have.
There may be some curiosity. We do not have permadeath planned for the game. You will be able to resurrect characters in battle and after battle for different reasons. I know there's a lot of fans of permadeath, particularly fans, hardcore Fire Emblem fans, especially Fire Emblem fans from pre-3DS time, but we did do this approach for reasons. One of them, we want the game to be accessible, and we think it was handled well. Resurrection and healing abilities like with Final Fantasy Tactics and Shining Force and so forth. And a lot of the characters in the game have very deep emotional stories, and they will progress as characters throughout the game. And so we do want to make sure that those characters stick around the whole game, so you can see that journey they go on and how they progress. The story is very much character driven, and so that's part of the reason that we did that. Sometimes you just have an enduring character you want to stick with, or you like a particular style that you've tailored around your party with the characters you've chosen to put into it. And we don't want players to get aggravated or feel like they have to keep resetting battles to make one wrong move and it ends up in death. Again, I know there are some people that are fans of that, but we wanted to make things a little bit more approachable, and again, kind of make sure that the story works well, and that you enjoy what you're doing, and kind of see the progress of everything.
Exactly. And I myself have played some of those games with permadeath that can be really fun. They can be, but just because we want to make sure that we've got that story focus. Absolutely. We've kind of been careful about that. Though heck, if we get big enough support on our Kickstarter when it launches later in the year, then maybe we put in a super hardcore mode, and you have to restart a battle anytime you lose one person in it, if that's really what people want.
Okay, so they're chipping away at that war beast, and at this point you can see here they've gotten down far enough that it's unlocked this tech move concept. So tech moves, kind of team up attacks, have been employed in different ways in role playing games. You probably remember the tech moves you can do in Chrono Trigger and so forth. And here in Aegis Force, we've got this concept of being able to team up with your party members to do a more advanced move called a tech move. And there'll be a variety of them depending on which character you're controlling, who they're teaming up with, and so forth. But it ended up being really just a really powerful special attack that you can do. And if you're in a battle like this, or maybe you're fighting a larger boss or harder enemy, it's a good way to kind of plan out when you have it available and when you can employ it to be able to kind of turn the tides of battle. So right here, Orvis is charging up Callan's sword with this kind of dragon, draconic power, and he was able to slam the war beast in a move called the Dragon's Gale.
Mm-hmm. See, and there's the excitement afterwards, right? They just took down something huge. And there's that character that Christian was talking about, right? We reference Vedette.
Figure out how to get away. He's like, do I go left, do I go right, do I go left, do I go right?
He's just saying, don't go in here, don't go in here. Yeah, Vedette's never going to believe we took one of these down. So I can hardly believe it myself, says Callan. He goes, wait. Yeah, it was just, there was a lot going on there. You could see, for those who looked really closely, you could see the, when the war beast swung their hammer, they were like actually reloading it with some sort of like, a gunpowder shell, right? So they're just saying, man, this is, there was big malfunction and everything there, but the war beast went down. Of course, people from Genoa would say that they love having, a rune blade or something like that, or magic at their side instead of technology. But then they have the realization of where they're standing. That's a lot of carnage. That's a lot of people and creatures that were alive a few minutes ago and are not anymore. And so this is one of the first little kind of splashes of cold water for them, to see that war is not it's not romantic. It's a lot of cost, and that there's a lot of things that there's people that are lost in all of that. Commander Enridge is coming in and saying, everybody join up. We need to have a little conversation about this. And you can see this soldier back here. They're gone. All my friends are gone, right? It sounds like he too was having one of those moments of realizing that there was a lot. It cost a lot to be able to get here. Just a village of farmers and smiths. Right? These people don't feel like, why would Genoa do this? They don't feel like they're tactically important. So they're wondering why all of this carnage has been brought to their doorstep. So let's go talk to Enridge. The day's taken its toll. We've lost friends and compatriots. We feel that loss keenly. It's a price they were willing to pay to see Genoa victorious, but victory isn't in our grasp yet. We still have a mission to complete. We won't want to waste our fallen friends' efforts by leaving our tasks undone. Would we, soldiers? No, sir. Right, that's the rah-rah. No, we follow our mission through no matter what, kind of thing that comes from the commander. It's suspected, the reason we're in the village is it's suspected of being a major staging area for the Turamain army's recent attacks on our towns across the southern border. We're going to allow these attacks to continue, Genuines? No, sir. That's right, we won't. Fan out and search the village for hidden supply caches, soldiers, or anything else. I want this place covered top to bottom, double time. Yes, sir. And then talking specifically to his brand new soldiers. You did good out there today, boys. It's a tough mission to get your feet wet on. You made King Theon the sixth proud today, right? This is the king of Genoa right now. He's actually a young king. He has, moved forward a lot as far as the military, but for Genoan kings, he's one of the youngest. And I think that this is where Callan first gets that question. We lost so many. Some losses are to be expected. Sometimes the toll's high. That's the price of. And Orvis comes in with victory, right? These are some of the themes that we wanted to continue to explore throughout this. So victory is important to them. It's, victory at all costs, I think, for Commander Emmerich. Search the buildings in the foothills. Be careful. Be thorough. The people of Turamain are sly, and genuine lives are at stake. Yes, sir. So let's go down that path that Christian was talking about and see about this little farm over here. Follow Commander Enridge's orders here. I don't know how much that's going to help, Orvis, to tell her that you're soldiers from Genoa, but at least they're being honest.
We just slaughtered a lot of your fellow neighbors and burned their farms.
Yes, indeed. And I think that serves to highlight the difference between Callan and Orvis and maybe the genuine military complex as a whole, as well as Turamain, right? They sent in one of their war beasts into a civilian area. So there's a difference between the individuals in a war and the war itself. Obviously. Yeah, are you here to burn my house too? I think it's a valid question. No, we just need to check the barn. Check it for what? Vermin? Not vermin. We're looking... She goes, you misunderstand. I was calling you vermin. We're looking for supplies that Turamain's army may have hidden. She says, there's nothing like that here. You don't need to worry about it. It may have been without you knowing, though. We're tired. It's been a long night. We've seen enough trouble to last a while. Please just let us check it. She says, okay, only because you called me miss. Make it quick. And they go and they do a quick check.
Magic of the fade out and fade in.
That's right. Nothing. Sorry for giving you boys a hard time. I understand. You should probably go inside till morning to keep safe. By then, things should have calmed down.
See those goats in the background jamming together?
Yeah, they're having a good time. Dancing to the music for us. I actually noticed something that I bet you both of us have played through this demo. And I know Candace has at least played through it once or twice at this point even. Probably more. But I noticed something I've never noticed before. Look through those two trees over the building tops. We got a little hidden goat back there near the smokestacks.
Oh, yeah.
I've never noticed that.
There's a back there, too, that was jiving across from the goats. I guess he wasn't invited to the goat party, so just hanging out in the grass.
He's got the vibe. There he is, just hanging out.
He's a mountain goat.
Mm-hmm.
I've never noticed that before.
Right?
And the cows are good, actually.
Yeah.
This is the first time I ever saw it. Oh, the light in the barn. Someone in there? You know that's not a good sign. Mm-hmm. Soldiers from Genoa. Just need to check the barn. We'll be on our way. No need for trouble. I had a bad feeling about this.
The ominous light goes out, no one responds.
Yeah, right?
Uh-oh.
No, those aren't forest animals, Orvis. They're coming in. Battle's
Ambush.
over. And you can tell that, Callan and Orvis have gotten tired, right? This is a lot for a first time. We don't want to fight. We don't have to fight. So you're just going to let us go, turn a blind eye. Well, it's better than killing each other, and he has a good point. Like you genuines would let a single citizen of Turamain go unbothered if you had your way. I specifically was thinking about this, kind of showing that we have all kinds of different types on both sides. That we have Commander Enridge saying, oh, look out for those Turamain people. They're sly. They will always find a way to get you. And then we have, at least with some of the soldiers on the Turamain side, the same attitude, right? like you Genuines would let a single citizen of Turamain go unbothered. And I think it just goes to show how long this war has been going on and how much it has embedded itself into their, even the culture, the way that they talk about each other. I've had my fill of fighting. We may not be able to let you go, but if you come quietly, what, we'd be put in military prison, live the rest of the lives on a chain gang? And he goes, oh, well, hopefully Genoa's leaders would be lenient. We don't want leniency. We don't want to be tried as criminals in our own country. But if you want to be buried here, we can oblige you. Which means that we have one more big fight. And an unexpected combatant.
You may have noticed that farmer sneak out to hop out of his hiding place in the barn while they were counting over for talking to the soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
The ominous figure inside coming out to protect his farm now from these soldiers.
I'd like to avoid fighting with civilians, if I can. Give ourselves a little defense boost there. You can see we'll get a lot less damage off of that. Yep, just 10 damage. That's one of Callan's ability, is that kind of defense boost that he can give himself. Oof. That pitchfork is just as good as a lance, though, it would appear.
Nasty strike.
I don't want Orvis going down.
You can see a little bit of the risk reward that can happen here with the tactical RPG. Timeline above, you can see the order that characters will be attacking, and there will be some ability to manipulate that with some haste and slow spells and so forth later on in the game to kind of add further a little bit to the tactics. Orvis selfishly heals himself and runs away.
Yeah, we're going to keep him in the game. Since he's our only healer on the battlefield right now, I think it'd be to our advantage. Now, if we want to go for some overkill, since we've got the ability, let's take down the Turamain Gunner with our Dragon's Gale. Get him off the battlefield guaranteed in one hit here, since his hit points are definitely going to be lower than this tech attack.
Bob, our artist animator, you can see he's got a flair for the dramatic.
Yes, indeed.
Orvis's jump and spin there.
There we go. Okay.
Is that nasty pitchfork?
See, he doesn't seem to be interested in not fighting. So we're gonna do what we have to.
Nick does the cruel thing of harming the farmer.
Yeah, this is why you put the controller in my hands, is that you knew I would have to do it.
Not afraid to do the dirty work.
Mm-hmm.
So, a little bit, even though we're taking it lightly here, but you can see that's a little bit of an emotional moment there with, for Callan and Orvis, never expecting to have to fight citizens like that, and brave individuals that just want to protect their property, protect their loved ones, and so forth. It's one of the challenges and casualty that can come with war and so forth is, where do you draw the line between, enemy and friend or neutral parties and so forth, and emotional gravitas that can kind of come with that.
Mm-hmm. And you can see Callan's, he's a little shaken, right? He's even going to the commander, the one you want to look the best in front of, and saying, he came right at us. Like, what could we do? I knew we'd be fighting soldiers, but I didn't think we'd fight a civilian.
The civilian engaged, they had to defend themselves.
Mm-hmm. And once again, we get to see kind of the interplay of kind of propaganda, the message that goes back and forth, right? That Commander Energy says it's a hard thing to learn. It doesn't get easier, but the Turamain's leaders are the ones to blame. They'll do whatever they have to. They will stop at nothing. They'll even get their farmers to spill your blood if they get the chance. So, let's celebrate these boys for doing what they had to, right? And the soldiers
try to make the farmer into the bad guy here and try to soften the blow for them emotionally, and take away again, kind of take away the humanity from the farmer. Well, he was an enemy, so it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. And he just moves forward with the mission, right? He's the commander. That's his job. Get that place searched. Let us know what's in there. So we found supplies. They've been launching attacks just like we thought. Have the men bring it all out, add their supplies to our stocks. That's how war works. And then he says, just like the supplies that we seized prove, they have been using it like we said. We can't allow it to continue. So it's been a big night, but we're almost done. Now, let's make sure they can't use this village to hurt us anymore. So take up your torches and burn any building big enough to hold a secret. You can see there already. Our artist, I remember asking him to say, hey, we need to get torches in these soldiers' hands. As terrible as it feels to ask for something like that when you know the story you're telling, but it's important to, I think, have our artists be able to show how we're telling this story.
The magic torches that kind of appear in your hands.
That's right. Minecraft style. Search the homes and barns. It's already done, right? We don't need to burn everything down. This is the only thing that we found, but soldiers are following orders. Let me stop you there.
A little bit of emotional conflict that can come there. Do I do what I feel is right, or do I do what I'm being commanded to do by my superiors?
Mm-hmm. So he even calls, the big fight with the war beast. That was glorious. You saved so many genuine lives, but sometimes you got to make a tough choice, right? And our
war beast got a wife and kids back in the cave.
Yeah, back home with Mrs. War Beast. That's right.
Little war beast running around.
Mm-hmm. And I loved the idea, there of Enridge kind of weaponizing our love, right? He says, we're doing this for the people that we love back home in Genoa, which can be a really valid, really, powerful thing, but it can also be weaponized. It can be used against us. Now, hands him the torch. Southern Genoa will sleep more soundly when that barn is in ashes. We really wanted to make this a distinct choice that the player has to make here, right? That you can actually, you can back it off if you want to, but that you really have to say, all right, I'm to some degree complicit in this. I'm making the choice right now.
And if you're not a fan of quick time events, I think if it takes 3, 4, 5 seconds like that, it doesn't qualify as a quick time event, does it?
That's right. No, we could stand there for a little while if you wanted to.
You gotta hold the bug down.
Mm-hmm.
So you as a player really feel what Callan's feeling and recognize the power and emotion behind it, the regret. And then we see that panoramic shot, that final cinematic shot of the village burning.
Mm-hmm.
So these seeds of conflict have been planted in Callan's heart, in Orvis's hearts, and we'll have to wait and see what happens story-wise and how things kind of develop and where the story goes. There'll be plenty of twists and turns and surprises and emotional moments still to come along, as well as some great tactical battles. Keep your mind engaged and hopefully entertained.
Yep, we're super excited to share the story with you. There's so much going on, so many interesting places and people and opportunities and missions. Like Christian said, we want to surprise you. We want you to have a great experience with the story as well as the gameplay all throughout. So.
And if you don't, just blame our community manager, Candace.
That's right. Speaking of which, Candace,
thanks, guys.
Do you want to talk through some of the questions or the thoughts that you've seen as you've been engaging with the community out there, and see if there's anything that we can, any answers we can give you?
Yeah, for sure. We've had a lot of good feedback, a lot of things to look at. I think one of the first questions I wanted to start with, though, is, why did you want to create this game? What's going to be unique about this?
I kind of touched up a little bit about that at the beginning of the demo area that Nick was playing through for us. So, again, just we're passionate. We know there are a lot of passionate individuals, both of those that grew up like we did, kind of 80s, 90s, early 2000s, that played a lot of these similar types of games. They really stick with you. There's just a gameplay loop and a charm with the art style and the music and things these games brought. There was a lot of great storytelling. People still talk about like Final Fantasy VI and how the world actually was destroyed. So many games talk about it. In Final Fantasy VI, it really happens. At one point, the bad guy really wins, Kefka, and as I mentioned, there's a little bit of renaissance being developed, probably for people like us that grew up playing them and want to see more of them, with these pixel art games, JRPGs, and other genres. And again, just timeless, charming art styles that can come with an animations. And so, we knew Nick and I both go back as friends and kind of talked off and on about the dream of making a game, as I'm sure so many other gamers out there have as well. And I just always knew that this is where I wanted to start, is create a game that's got these JRPGs that we love, but with the tactical gameplay, as I brought up for different reasons, I think it's my preferred way to play. I love how it engages a little bit more. I think it's unique in that tactical gameplay doesn't really mesh with this kind of open exploring. We see your party on the field that can kind of move the camera, engage in different parts and the game and explore and so forth. You just don't see that a whole lot. And so I wanted to create it for people out there that I've seen out there, like on Discord or in the internet, Reddit, that like these games, but nobody's really making them like this anymore. This subgenre where there's some really passionate fans. So part of it's addressing that, part of it that demand, that appetite. Some of it's addressing just the dream we've had. I mean, we want to play this game. And so one of the things with Desert Game Studio is one of our hallmarks, in addition to, as you can see, is just trying to come up with unique gameplay and engaging gameplay elements and just great deep stories and deep characters and so forth. Is that we want to make games that we want to play. That we're number one fans of this game we're making, and into the game we may make after this is. And so we hope that you enjoy it, give it a shot, enjoy it as much as we do. Even if you haven't, really tried to like the tactical RPG before, we think there's a lot of stuff here that you may like and find enjoyable. Even if you just like a good story, even if you just like, cool pixel artwork and so forth, give it a shot. And I think there's a lot to like here.
That's awesome. Thank you. Nick, this might be a question for you. Can you give us a little teaser on what's coming for the story?
Ooh, no, absolutely. So we're pretty excited just because we feel like this set us up for something a little bit different. What's coming for the story, though, is as we go into chapter 1, just after the prologue, we're actually going to have a little bit of a time jump. We're going to see Callan and Orvis and Vedette 5 years later as they have continued in their military career. I think that Christian put it best when he said that the things that happened there during the prologue, they were really about sowing seeds, right? And those seeds haven't had a chance to really come up quite yet. So we're going to be jumping 5 years forward. We're going to see that a lot has changed for them as far as where they are in the military, what they feel about the Skorian War, and even some very interesting happenings that could actually change the course of the Skorian War, maybe even bring it to an end for better or for worse. So we'll be joining up with them, getting to know that trio of characters and the longtime friendship that they've had, and then adding in some new characters to the mix that are going to make some things a little bit more complicated, but in a very good way, I think.
Awesome. Yeah, can you talk a little bit about those, what we can expect about the kinds of characters or even classes are going to be coming in the future?
Oh, yes, absolutely. So, yeah, we have characters who fit a lot of the major classes that you see in a lot of these games, already. So, Vedette is going to be a fantastic archer, but she has a little bit of magic there. So, she primarily uses her archery in conjunction with her magic for potion making, traps, and that kind of thing as far as her gameplay goes. So she's very brash, she's very bold, she's very capable, and so she's going to be a lot of fun that way. We've also got, some dwarves. One of my favorites as far as his name, it's just fun to say. But we're going to have a dwarf character named Osmanaz, who, actually lived on the Turamane side for most of his life, and had a single mother was his parent, and some difficulty with family members. He's strong. He's very technologically minded, and so he's going to have some of the mixture of that classic, the classic dwarven strength and the axe and everything. But he's also going to have a mind for machines, and so that can add some fun gameplay and story elements there. We have another centaur. Like Christian said, I don't think that they get the respect that they deserve in some of these games, whose name is Greyland. Very bold, very fun, maybe a little bit overconfident, but a fun character. And I'll maybe leave you with one of my, no, I'll tell you two. There's two. We've got a bunch of other ones, but one of my favorites that I'm really excited to explore is he's like a rodent person, a mouse person named Travik Yeoman, who is going to have some very interesting parts to play in this story, more than maybe we'd even expect right at the beginning. Who joins our crew as you go out there and do some of these missions to recruit all these characters, he joins the crew under somewhat mysterious circumstances, for reasons we don't understand right at the beginning, and then we grow to understand over the course of the game. And then maybe the last one I'll leave you with is we've got a healer character. Her name is Noah Gregorine, and she is actually part of a genuine religious order who a huge part of the religion that they have there is being supporters of the Scorian War, of being the healers out there on the front lines. In times before the war, they probably would have had a very different role in society, but they're highly respected because they see battle out there. Noah's not that old, but her soul feels very old because she's been on the front lines of the war healing for many years. And so it brings a nice a friction, a dynamic for her, because she no longer believes in her religious order, but she does believe in healing and helping and using the gifts that she learned as part of that order. So there's a real friction that happens between Noah and Genoa and our characters who she wants to help, but knowing that she's kind of being complicit in the whole war there too. So as you can see, there's going to be a lot of interplay between these characters in the way that they view the war from both sides.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to get to know all of them. I'm so excited about it. This is probably going to be a question for both of you. What mechanics are we considering in the future to either for exploration or expanding the combat system? What's coming for that?
Well, you saw a little bit of some introduction of mechanics in the demo there. First, kind of the backstab, and then the tech attack, the Dragon's Gale, and so there'll be certainly more tech attacks and a different variety of them. I mentioned some terrain, how high-low attacks based on terrain can affect damage output and defense and so forth. Different kinds of boss battles and so forth that will be unique. Some of them I'll keep a secret for now, but just know that the gameplay will become more varied and a little more tactical as you go along, and there will be plenty of options as well as to kind of customize your party, including the ability not only of recruiting new characters, which is part of the fun of these types of games, is scouring the land and finding people you can recruit into your force, your little army to go and continue on the story and fight against the evil forces, but the ability to customize those characters individually. We'll be introducing some mechanics you can kind of customize, what order of abilities you want to acquire and how you want to level up and promote them and so forth. So some player choice in terms of variety. They'll customize a little bit how they want to play, well, some secret items and secret characters to find and so forth. So some sense of discoverability as you explore the land and kind of search things out.
Awesome. All right, now I've got another question about the development process. So how far through is Aegis Force with the development process?
Game development, like a lot of creative processes, are pretty malleable, pretty fluid processes and situations. We've got a lot of work done that is a lot of different pieces and so forth that to be put together. We are certainly well engaged to pass the prologue/demo area that we just showed. We've got a lot of stuff figured out story-wise in terms of the entirety of the story's mostly figured out in terms of story beats high level. We know exactly where we want to go with the characters, how things are going to end up, and we'll continue to fill in more details and more variety, more density to it as we go along. We've got a great team, Nick, and another team member named John, with a lot of writing experience that are working on that. Fleshing out these characters, fleshing out the story. And we've got some really cool assets that are being built to make for some very varied environments. The village you saw there, everything happened at night. Obviously, there'll be some daytime and some different kind of lighting effects and so forth at different parts of the day and different parts of the story. A variety of environments, as I mentioned, different races of people. Probably different kinds of architecture and so forth. So we've got a lot planned. A lot of it's written down. A lot of it's already been coded and built, but we are well under development past the demo portion and our plan out of 2026 release.
Great. That's good to hear. It's good to hear. And last question. So what's something exciting that the players should look forward to that we maybe don't see in the demo yet?
Ooh,
Nick, what do you think?
I was going to say, I mean, obviously I'm partial, but I think that one of the things that I'm very excited about is the different kinds of abilities and the kind of skill tree that we're building out. You know, it's like a level up tree, I guess I should say, for the way that the characters are going to be gaining new abilities and how you can employ those on the battlefield tactically. We're really looking for ways to make sure that those abilities don't just give you a tactical advantage in certain situations, but we're also looking for ways to have the abilities match with the character, match with the narrative. So that you might have some things happen with a character, you know, a big story moment happen with a character that opens up a new ability or changes the path of how they kind of develop as a tactical tool as well as a person. So I'm really excited to see how those develop and how our players go out there and start using some of these more esoteric, tactical kinds of abilities that we're going to be adding with different characters to get themselves an advantage on the battlefield.
And Christian, what are you looking forward to?
I just the demo gives you just a little bit of a taste of what we got stored. Just gameplay, story, just the art of the game and so forth. And we really do look at this game as a piece of art. I just think the story and gameplay mechanics and the visual uniqueness of it and music and everything. We want it to all come together as like kind of the symphony of disparate parts that come together and sounds great. And I'm just thrilled because, like I said, this is a game I've I just wanted to play for a long time now, and I didn't see anybody else really make it, so I thought, well, I'll go ahead and try to do it. And so it's just you will continue to see as we show more and more on social media and so forth of all these things we've got planned. That if you like the taste that we got for the demo, you'll be very excited about how we're going to continue to build on that. The demo kind of being the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Nick, I'm going to turn it back to you because that is all the questions I had so far. I'm sure there will be more coming.
Excellent. And I would imagine we're going to have more developer diaries as we move forward. We've got more things to show you. We want to talk through some of the specific parts of game development for those who are curious and those who want to make their own game too. So in the future, we might have some about certain gameplay systems and the iteration process that we went through with them, or how I go about doing the writing process. It's been a lot of exploration to be able to figure out exactly how to do a nonlinear narrative, for example. So we're excited to do more of these developer diaries. We hope that you saw something, heard something, experienced something, felt something today that you liked. And once again, as a reminder, please go out there, find us on Steam, Aegis Force: The Scorian War. Wishlist us, follow us on social media. We're all over the place, and we'll be really excited to continue engaging with all the possible fans and players and everyone out there and giving whatever we can. So once again, thank you so much to Christian Smith and Candace Nance for being here with us today.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks. Talk to you later.